But we're here to take stock of the agri-food sector.
So I think it's fitting that we're in the home of our national sport to consider and take stock of our greatest indigenous economic sector. Both have one key thing in common. They're involved and touch and impact upon every parish in the country.
We're finally beginning to see a little bit of growth. Overall, of course, where the drivers in world trade have been in Asia, primarily China, but also India as well.
You're looking at new forms of food production where there's a demand for natural, there's a demand for clean labels.
Product innovation is a very important part of our overall strategy.
The more successful we are in finding new markets, the more and the better we'll be able to defend our existing markets in Europe.
It's really my great pleasure and honor to attend this FoodWise conference.
I thought it was interesting how insight and innovation were linked together.
I will continue harnessing trade to bolster our farm incomes because good food, sustainably produced, means good business. The day has gone where we can pay lip service to sustainability and climate action. The European Union is the best address for high quality food anywhere in the world.
We have to justify the CAP to the taxpayer.
There are the number of challenges. There's CAP, there's Mercosur, there's Brexit, there's the food chain.
But maybe the real question is it possible to deal with volatility without it being immensely costly?
The reality for Brexit is that it's a serious disturbance to the Irish economy, and that disturbance is particularly focused in the agri-food sector.
If we want public support for the continuation of the Common Agricultural Policy, consumers and taxpayers across Europe have to be convinced that there is a public good delivery.
Measures that can mitigate climate and increase resilience without undermining our production potential should be prioritized and encouraged.
One of the key messages I want to make sure is everybody understands is that the FoodWise strategy allows an opportunity and a requirement to focus on addressing the challenge of sustainability.
I mean, 10 years ago, Birdwatch Ireland and the environmental NGOs probably wouldn't have had a platform to stand at a conference like this, and I think it's a sign of the huge progress that's been made in Ireland in relation to the environment.
If we're saying we're clean and green, if we're promoting ourselves through FoodWise as being a green nation, well then we're going to have to address those challenges.
Yeah, and I suppose we live our life trying to interpret what it is the consumer is looking for.
So 30% of food produced globally is never actually consumed.
Farmers need to be persuaded that shifting to new technologies can actually increase their economic sustainability, but also in the context of this discussion so far, their environmental sustainability.
I would just urge everybody then to reflect. We have a lot of good material, we have a very good news story to tell, but we need to reflect on where to from now.
There is a very strong commitment to sustainability.
I think FoodWise is actually a marvellous initiative.
For the food industry to survive, sustain and prosper and achieve, which is achievable, the goals in FoodWise, then we have to get clearer, sharper and faster around issues around sustainability.
And access to labour, I think, is something that will cause us huge issues in strangling our ability to grow if we don't resolve it very quickly.
If I had one wish coming out of this conference is that we kind of renew our vows to the both the growth and the sustainability objectives inside FoodWise.
It is vital that we recognise the role that those industries have played in our recovery and our continued growth. I can announce today that I will lead at least 4 trade missions over the next year. I want to launch a public consultation in Ireland on the future of the Common Agricultural Policy, taking account of the broad parameters laid down in the Commission's communication. I want your views on how we can configure a future Common Agricultural Policy to meet the development and sustainability objectives of FoodWise. We cannot allow any negative association between agri-food sector and the environment to get traction. Any such association would be corrosive and damaging to the development of the sector. We recognise that we must do much more to meet our national emission targets and to ensure that our dairy expansion does not compromise water quality or biodiversity.